What's up? It's Tom. System recap for Thursday's games. But first, Royce Lewis going to be on a rehab assignment starting tomorrow, which this is probably a little earlier than I was expecting him to be ramping back up at the time of his injury. So I consider this positive outcome here. And obviously good news getting another piece back, especially with Willie Castro going on the injured list. The Twins could use another guy certainly here coming up soon. And just for reference, here's the lengths of his prior rehab assignments. I should have put an asterisk down on that bottom one at May because I don't know that was technically all a rehab assignment from Royce that year. But point stands, at the start of the 2023 season, he had 10 games in the minors before he joined the Twins. So maybe that's one that's interesting to call out because that was a season opening situation there where he was ramping up to get ready to play in the big leagues. So maybe we'll see somewhere in between. I'm not sure. The Twins are obviously pretty desperate. So we should be seeing Royce Lewis again before too long. That's great news. The actual results of Thursday are not so great news. The Twins lost to the Chicago White Sox. The Saints were postponed. Windsurge lost. Colonels got blown out, and the Mighty Muscles did win. I think that one went into extras even. But the Twins game, it was raining the whole game. Grounds crew did a great job at keeping the field playable even for 7 innings, but couldn't keep it going beyond that. This game was this afternoon. You saw St. Paul couldn't even get their game in. That was an evening game. Just kind of drizzled all day. So a 7-inning game. Chris Paddack pitched. Didn't pitch great, but five innings, 2 runs. You hope he could have done more than that against the White Sox. Only threw 57 of his 99 pitches for strikes, walked 4 hitters, walked in a run. So certainly nothing to hang your hat on. But this just kind of goes back to my Chris Paddack is a fine number 4, number 5 starter. And if the Twins could actually score some runs, maybe people would not complain about a guy giving up 2 runs over 5 innings. Like Chris Paddack did. So in case you missed it, earlier today, before this game was played, I talked a little bit about the decision to send David Festa back to the minors and keep Chris Paddack in the rotation. Not going to lie, that was a scary thing to do right before a Chris Paddack start. I thought, oh man, this could look really bad really quick. And again, I think his numbers actually, like the earned runs and innings, make his start look actually better than it was today. He pitched worse than 2 runs over 5 innings. But give him some credit for getting through 5 and only giving up 2 runs and giving his team a chance to win. Again, if this team could score any kind of runs, they had a chance to win. Jorge Alcala threw 41 pitches over 2 innings. And my question down there, is this the end of Alcala? Typically, when they let a guy rip like that and have him throw 40-plus pitches, not always, but typically, you're not going to see that guy on the active roster for much longer. They're going to bring in a fresh arm. The interesting thing with Jorge Alcala right now is he recently accrued 5 years of service time, so he can reject an outright assignment. So that's going to be – maybe it doesn't happen here. Maybe it's not today or tomorrow, but that's going to be something that the Twins face with Alcala more than likely at some point this season. So anytime I see him throwing that many pitches, my question is going to be, is this the end of the line? So that'll be an interesting thing to follow. But, talking about Chris Paddack and David Festa, so many people just so convinced that Chris Paddack is a waste of space and complete garbage and that David Festa is a legit major league starting pitcher. Yet we had them throw back-to-back games against the same opponent. Should also mention that Chris Paddack was playing in just awful conditions and David Festa was pitching in near ideal conditions. David Festa 4 innings, 2 runs. Chris Paddack 5 innings, 2 runs. Paddack walked 4, but Festa walked 3. I mean, I think the reason why this is kind of grinding on me a bit is that it feels to me like a lot of Twins fans are honestly, openly rooting against Chris Paddack, who's on your own team. Just because they want to see him do so poorly that he's removed from the rotation, and that's just completely silly. David Festa is going to get plenty of opportunities. I don't want to rehash that whole thing. I talked about that this morning. Moving on. Brooks Lee did have a 2-hit game, so that's great. Luke Keeschel reached base twice. He had a hit and a walk. Carlos Correa 0 for 3 with a strikeout. He had an 0 for 12 series. More on him in a sec. Byron Buxton 0 for 2 with a walk today and a strikeout. He was 1 for 11 for the series. Did hit a 2-run home run, though, was the one. And, of course, had that great game-ending catch. But down at the bottom of the notes, you see White Sox rookie starter Shane Smith had good numbers entering today, but only a 16.7 K percent. He struck out 7 guys in 5 innings. He struck out 36.8% of the Twins he faced today. So, ouch. Anyway, Twins were 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Win this series, a series when you were banking on and you were hoping for a sweep. And with the Twins off to a slow start, they can't just do the bank thing. They do have to do the extra bit to get back, to where they want to be. So Correa, swing sucks. I was interested in seeing somebody if they would talk to Correa about that with his wrist injury kind of bothering him. Dan Hayes asked if he was dealing with any pain or discomfort, and Carlos basically just says, nope, my swing sucks. You can see the full quote down there. It's easy to wonder if Willie Castro wasn't on the injured list, if Carlos Correa should be put on the IL right now, because something ain't right. This isn't Carlos Correa. So I wanted to pass that along. I'm sure a lot of you have been wondering too, like, what is the deal here? And he just says his swing sucks. So on the minor league side, not a lot to talk about, not a lot of highlights to go over. Jason Doktorczyk from last year's draft class doesn't give up any earned runs over 4 innings, but only strikes out 2. This is a guy who struck out 10 in his last outing, so I was kind of interested to see how he'd follow that up. On the hitting side, Rubel Cespedes had a couple hits and a walk, as did Danny De Andrade. Maddox Houghton hit a go-ahead home run. Jay Thomason also homered in that game for Fort Myers. But just not a whole lot to discuss or go over. Again, the Mighty Muscles, the only team to win today, and the Saints were postponed. Thanks for checking this one out. That's all I've got today. If you got any questions or anything, let me know in the comments. But appreciate you. We'll talk again soon.